church. Our reading today is Galatians chapter 1. Remember, the reason that we're reading together through the book of Romans and the book of Galatians during the Idols of the Heart series is because we drift towards idols when we drift away from the gospel. And so the book of Romans and the book of Galatians are re-immersing us in the simple gospel, that would reign and rule in our hearts. Here, as we begin Galatians, let me just give you a little background because it's essential to understand as you read this letter. Paul has personally planted the churches in Galatians during his first missionary journey. You can read about that in the book of Acts. What has happened is that later on, false teachers from Jerusalem have come to the churches at Galatia, and they are saying that it is necessary for the Gentile believers to fully obey the Mosaic law, including circumcision, in order to be saved. And in addition to that, they have personally attacked Paul, and they said he's not an authentic apostle. He was not part of the 12 disciples. He is just an evangelist, and he has kind of made this easy believism gospel that he preached to you just to make it easy for you to come to faith. But the reality is that you need to obey the Mosaic law to be accepted by God. And so Paul is just going to defend himself, and he's going to say, why are you so quickly turning from the simple gospel of Jesus Christ, the grace that is in the Lord, to fall into this way of thinking? And he said, if I was a people pleaser, I wouldn't be blasting these legalizers so hard. And he's going to say, I didn't make up the good news that I preached to you. I received it directly from Jesus Christ, and it has been affirmed by the 12 apostles in Jerusalem over and over again. And so that's why he's having to defend himself in this letter, because of the accusations that are being made against him. But the fundamental point Paul's going to make in Galatians over and over is that grace plus anything equaling salvation is a false gospel. It is legalism, and we need to reject it at every turn. We are saved by grace alone. And when you add any work, any performance, no matter what it is, and say it's necessary for salvation, it's legalism, it's wrong, it's a false gospel. Paul is going to call them to live inside the grace of Christ and never forget these things. Now today, in our circles, we would rarely fall for the idea that we as Gentile believers, as Christians today, must fully obey the Mosaic law to be saved. But it doesn't mean we don't fall into a legalism trap. We don't fall into a performance trap. We tend to make other things a necessary thing to be saved. And so the principle here that grace plus anything equals salvation is still operative. Pastor Mark on Sunday talked about how idols often force us to take our identity in them. One of the identities that we can take on is an identity in my performance, that I am my own redeemer. And one of the symptoms that this is occurring for me is when I am really introspective all the time, constantly concerned about my imperfections and my performance. And so I'm always anxious, I'm always worried, I'm always self-condemning. This is a sign that we've almost made an idol out of our own piety. And so this is a real challenge for us, and I can relate to that. I can fall into that. This is a real challenge for you and I, that we remember it is grace alone, and we take our eyes off of ourselves. We put them back on Jesus Christ, that we would live in His grace for His glory. Have a great day, everybody.